All right, I'd like to call the village council meeting October 28th, 2021, 9 a.m. Work session. Did I sit in the wrong seat there?
It's 9:08.
Also, I'd like to get a motion right away to allow council members to participate remotely.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have adoption agenda. Do we have any changes or?
We sure do.
Okay.
All right, so we are going to remove number 4, discussion and consideration of Village Hall underbrush contract to be awarded to vendor TBD in amount TBD. And then we are going to add number, I guess it will be
The new number
new number 6. Add items of discussion. Discuss and consider adoption of ordinance prohibiting stopping and standing on both sides of Red Twig Road. We're going to add a number 7. Discussion of implementing.
What was 6 again?
Discussion and consider adoption of ordinance prohibiting stopping and standing on both sides of Red Twig Road. It would be
Okay.
this,
Okay. Since I don't have that in front of me.
It's right here, Jeff.
Okay, thanks.
that ordinance, okay? Everybody
Yeah.
has a copy. All right, new number 7, discussion of implementing neighborhood camera surveillance plan. And number 8, discussion of park lights. And that's all I have.
A park lights.
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes, Kim?
Nope, those were all mine. Thank you, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Bob?
I'm good.
Jamie?
That's good.
All right, I'm good as well. So I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
This is on the agenda. It should be.
Anyone?
So moved.
Okay, well, I can do it in council comments, it's fine.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have presentations. We don't have any. Item C, discussion of items of discussion. First off is discussion 2022 Marvin Day celebration, Saturday, May 21st, 2022. Derek.
I don't have anything to add. I don't know if you all have anything that you want to bring forth for me to add to the spreadsheet or notes.
The only thing I would suggest is, because we will not be meeting for a little bit, but opportunities, when you have them, you should take advantage of them. November 6th is the high school, Marvin Ridge, I think it's band or something, band boosters, is doing a car show. And those are opportunities to hand out flyers to car show enthusiasts and people who want to do that and stuff. So that's a great opportunity, even though I know we were trying to keep it Marvin related, it mostly is, but people come from just outside. It'd be great if we could somehow put a flyer together notifying, saying Marvin Day, our plan to have more info to come.
Save the date.
We've already been sending that in the newsletter, but
I understand that, but we're specifically targeting people that aren't necessarily aren't getting the letter that you're sending. You're at a car show and people walk around and they'll pass out flyers for the next car show in a couple weeks, or
when is this again?
November 6th. So it's Saturday after the election. So what I'm basically asking, if there's something we can put, and I can put together, we can do some cropping and stuff, and I can send it, and it's something to hand out at a car show. And again, it's 6 months, but these are the people that show up to the car shows and bring their cars. So it's a great opportunity to, I usually get 4 or 5 flyers of what's happening in the next couple months, is what I'm saying. So I'm saying, is there a way we could, highlight that for?
Are we not targeting Marvin residents?
We absolutely
Yeah, I
are.
think
But not all of those Marvin residents that have cars, that live in Marvin, get this and even know about Marvin Day. But if they know Marvin Day, part of Marvin Day is a car show, then this is an opportunity to give it to them. And I don't think we're gonna just limit it to, are we, or no? Because car shows,
I thought we were, but I don't have a problem not, because
I
there's
thought we
only,
were-
I mean, it's kind of a,
Showcasing what Marvin had to offer.
yeah, but how, the thing is though, is if you limit it to Marvin, you
you
might
limit
get
it to
6
Marvin,
cars.
you may have 2 cars.
Yeah.
You know, John Jones and mine
Both of them,
and Bob's.
both of them are Joe's.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you.
Just to throw out there, on the same day, there's the Motori Italiani, which is over at 131 Main, at Blakeney. And I thank you for saying that, because, about what's gonna be happening here in Marvin, because I was gonna go, I know everybody, I'm part of that club, and I was gonna be over there, but, I can distribute flyers there too. In fact, that was one of my sources, and so, I might be able to hit both events. That'd be kind of fun.
So that is November 6th,
I
Bob?
could go to both.
On November 6th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Blakeney, at, that 131 Main, they're gonna have,
That's a nice show as well. Coffee with Cars, or Coffee and Cars is another one, but there's a lot of things, but I know we're focusing on Marvin, but if we're only gonna, people are limited with their time and stuff like that, so I would hate to just, especially if it's in the surrounding area, and if they wanna show up, what's the harm in it? I believe we can even assess a fee to it, a nominal fee. This car show on November 6th is $20. And they sign up and you pay $20 and so we know which cars are coming. That gives you a good idea, RSVP. Sometimes a day of show, people pull up and they register right then and there and stuff. So, but we can get the information. I just need okay from council. Is there something, if I put it together, gave it to Austin, and just, hey, heads up, this is happening May 21st, 2022.
and I'll be back in town, Austin. I can pick up those flyers from you probably on Friday. So I can go to one spot and I can go to the other. I don't know if Joe, if you're going to the one over at Marvin, but I can be happy. I'd like to go to both.
Yeah, I will only be at the Marvin one, so, because it's 10 to 2, so,
I can take
okay.
care of flyers there, and I can take care of flyers the other place.
But we're all good with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, that's all I needed.
So I'll get with you on that. Just
Yeah, I'll put some cutouts of cars or whatever. I may even use the same flyer they were using for this one, so, we'll just put some verbiage on it. Next up, consider call for public
Oh, wait,
hearing.
I'm not done with Marvin Day.
Oh, okay, sorry, Kim, go ahead.
That's all right. Okay. One, Jamie, did you happen to talk to Firethorn about moving member guest?
I did. So they're not going to do it, but their offer is to have some type of bus shuttle for the women that can go around and take them to different events. I thought was, I guess, as good as what we could ask for. But they're not going to move. They're not going to move member guests. I pleaded with them, and they're just stuck on that date because the weekend before there's a wedding. The weekends just don't line up because of weddings and other events. But they offered that they would shuttle the women around for certain things, and what the killer with that one is Saturday night when we're doing the end of celebration thing there, you're going to have basically 100 men and women that won't be able to get to it. They have a choice.
I do know that there was talk about them possibly doing the dinner on Friday night instead of Saturday night. So I'll keep pushing that.
Well, I will
Because
too.
If that's the case, that would be really good. So we just really kind of need to talk to the MGA about that because that's really their decision and not the club's.
Well, I'll keep pushing as well.
So,
Okay.
not to throw a wrench in this, but since we're so far out, can we change our date or no? Just asking.
I mean,
we've already booked
we've
the
got the
school.
school's commitment. I would say
Gotcha,
no,
gotcha,
because-
okay,
And the significance of it, they haven't publicized their date.
right, okay,
We have.
But they do have
okay.
events on both ends, so we're just gonna have to work through it. It's okay. maybe they'll move the dinner, and in that way it frees everyone.
We just gotta sell, we have a better party to come to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Okay, my next thing with Marvin Day is, we've got a wonderful, like, sponsor leveled flyer, but I really feel like we need like a letter to go along with it. Christina, I know you were working on something. Have you guys gotten that done?
Derek, didn't we finish it?
Mhm.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, can you guys like print it out or send it out, let everybody look at it and make sure it's okay, because this is gonna be on us really, really quickly.
Really quick.
And we need to get sponsors, and I'm not sure that, I've talked to one person and given them just like the flyer, but I was like, I'd like to be able to email this out to some business owners that I know, but I feel like we need like an introductory letter and then have the flyer with it. So if we can get that flyer approved today so that we can, or the letter approved today, so that we can really start sending that out, because again, like Joe said, we have, not another we have one council meeting. We don't have very many meetings until, January, so we've got to get on this.
Yeah, we may end up having to call a special meeting in the end because of that, but I agree with you, Kim, that's, and so all we'll have you guys do, whatever letter you have, if you could just send it to our emails, and council, check your emails, confirm that it's good, and then we can move on.
Just a reminder, on end of the month, November 30th, you all have a joint meeting with the PRG board specifically for Marvin Day. So start thinking on if there's anything specific you want to bring up at the meeting, let me know and I'll have it on the agenda.
What day is that?
That's Tuesday, November 30th.
I
9
got it on
a.m.
my
Yeah,
schedule.
I think it should just be kind of open-ended, just Marvin Day, because then we can talk about whatever we need to. I did have someone suggest to me, that we get like a PR firm or a marketing company to help us with this. And I know Christina had been talking about possibly hiring a part-time person to do special projects and help with event planning. Christina, can you update us on where we are with that?
Christina has left the building, left the office, you don't see that, but,
No, I don't. I'm driving. I'm not looking at my phone. Sorry.
okay.
I think we're putting something out to look for someone part-time to help us with events. We're working on that now.
Probably.
She had said she had somebody and was trying to talk to them about it, so I didn't know
Don't we
if
have to put it out
It's
though?
not posted.
Yeah, we still have to
got
post
in
it.
there.
Yeah, we still have to post it.
Okay. Well, we should, if we are going to hire someone like that, then we need to get that posted, because again, this thing is going to be on top of us, and we have got to start promoting the snot out of it, because if we have 100 people that show up at this thing, or 50 people that show up at this thing for the amount of work that we've all put into it, I'm going to be real unhappy. So I want this promoted to the teeth.
She's talking about hiring the part-time person for events, and I just said that we are posting it, and we do already have some people interested. She wants to do it
So can we go
ASAP.
ahead and post it, Christina? Because we've got it. If we're going to hire somebody for this, we've got to get it done, and we've got to start getting them working on this.
We'll have it by the end of the day.
Don't start volunteering.
Austin, yeah, we've been working on this week.
I'm trying to take work off of your plate, Austin. That's literally what I'm trying to do. So, anybody want to help me out here?
We'll get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
got
do it. We're ready.
We got it.
Okay, I heard about this like 6 weeks ago.
So essentially, what Kim is saying too, when we get that meeting on November 30th, we should really be in high gear. We should have promotion. We should have the
Person hired.
the person hired, but we should also have all of the sponsor stuff, feeding that stuff out, and really be kind of kicking in gear. Because these things that we're doing on the backside, we can still work on those, but promoting it and getting it out there. The biggest thing is just saving the date and having it in full gear by then.
Are we designating anyone to go, other than a letter, to reach out, like a council member or mayor, to reach out to, say, the big corporations like Publix or Teeter or anyone that,
We need that done, and I'll be the first to stand in line and say we're to go out and do that.
So how about you and I
Absolutely.
go and we try to figure out the key players for Firethorn, and if you guys have ideas of who sponsors could be, please share them with Jamie and I, and then we'll make arrangements to get in front of the decision makers on stuff like that and see if we can appeal to them. But we got to have something in hand to show them what kind of events. So I don't know if we'd be able to do it before the 30th. I don't know the time frame, but
Listen,
I'm
fine. As long as
available.
we have the information that's locked up, there's no reason for us not to be able to go approach.
We have the
Even
letter,
even if it's
basically.
the preliminary
Yeah.
contact with them to say, hey, this is, we're looking for, because realistically, just like with anything, you want to fill them all up and take any one of them, but you want to get that title sponsor and work yourself down, because
Right.
the ones that are the lower level,
Yep.
you can fill those in the month of, or the week of, but we really got to get for those.
And I think we can even promote it at WUMA, because it's okay for other area people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our
You know.
National Night Out sponsors, we can definitely send you over those and who like graciously volunteered for those.
Okay.
I think they have year after year, so that's a good starting place.
Yeah.
And we definitely drafted the letter and proofread it, finalized it, so we have that all ready to go.
Okay.
And she asked for us to send that out to all the council.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay,
Cool.
Okay.
that's good.
I'm already getting a couple
Kim, anything
things
else?
I need to
She
do.
said something about a PR.
No, I'm done.
Now, the list is
Start
getting
pretty
longer
things
already,
out.
so.
I can make them.
Okay, next up, if there's no one else putting in, number 2, consider a call for public hearing on November 9th at 6 p.m. at Village Hall for adoption of Marvin Heritage District Small Area Plan.
Yeah, so if you guys recall, we decided to do a small area plan to incorporate into our overall comprehensive land use plan. It's a standalone document specifically for the Heritage District. The typical process is that the plans come first, and then the ordinance is derived from the goals and recommendations from the plan. Well, since the ordinance, the form-based code before I got here kind of got to where it was at, we decided to, build this plan to help kind of build a foundation. As Austin says, it's kind of basically the executive summary of the form-based code language. It has no regulatory authority, but we just have to go through we have to have a public hearing to adopt it and to incorporate it into our land use plan, and that a public hearing is needed. So I've attached the updated draft that planning board recommended last week, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any,
I thought you did a good
Yeah.
job in the planning board meeting dealing with this, Nestor, trying to explain to everybody how, what it was.
Yeah, it's planning board took 2 planning board meetings to get through. It was recommended 5-2. Basically, I think there was a little confusion once again since the ordinance got to where it was at before, prior to me getting here. I think there was kind of confusion on that, but this was kind of a recommendation from that Tom and I decided that would be the best thing to help this district, because as the next steps play out, we'll get the form-based code language, the actual regulatory ordinance updated, and that will be coming to you guys in the next couple months. But this kind of builds that foundation and gets a more, visual of the pictures and the aesthetics that we want and stuff already adopted into the plan as goals and recommendations.
so I had a brief conversation with Kim, I think yesterday or so, but after our meeting with the people of Bell Grove, we came in here, Hunter and I sat down, and we just started talking about things. So this is more for council, and maybe if you guys can take the time to get with Hunter on this. But I mentioned something, I said, would it be helpful for him if we were to give him a budget to hire someone like a Terry Shook, who he wasn't familiar with. And then when I mentioned Birkdale Village and what he's done and stuff, and he goes, we just had, I saw the light go on with him, but now there's no budget plan or anything like that, but what he provided for me were some photos of a town. And I encourage you all to, at some point, sit down with him because, and I think it'll help the community too of what we're trying to get. Because a lot of times people, I think Hunter pointed out to me, they don't know, really recognize the difference between 8,000 square feet and 10,000 square feet and all the different things. But they do respond to photos. And this town had some photos of areas that I think were really appealing, like those that what I think we're trying to accomplish, but putting words into photos, which is sometimes a little bit helpful. He had, what's the town?
Wakesfield, Vermont.
Wakesville, Vermont, So it's not by any means high density, but it's a feel, and that's exactly what Terry Shook. He's known across the nation. He happens to be here in Charlotte. When we had a meeting years ago, he hosted it. I will tell you this, and this really frustrated me very much. Only one council person showed up, which was me. And then all of planning board was there where they had to call a meeting, and lights went on even though initially I was hitting the brakes, and this guy's like, you can do it to any scale that you want. And when you can see what you do and what they do that in 7,000, what was the area that they did this, the photos, how many square, acres was it? 7 acres?
For Wakesfield?
Yeah.
Oh, it was,
In
was,
this little area that you
very
showed me
small.
some photos, it was 7 acres, and then you got Fincher over here with 13 acres.
Yeah, it was.
And you just think, wow, this is something that, I think would be very appealing to show. So take the time, and obviously, Hunter, you have those photos. If you're in here, ask him for a few minutes to take a look at what we're talking about, and then maybe we can decide if this is what we want to present when we're in front of planning board or whoever it is to bring them to understand us better, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, just to kind of add on to that, Tom made me aware of this. He found it in one of his planning books, and we kind of started diving into it and pulled their ordinances and so on. And it's a very kind of similar case study. Same area. I mean, they had a cemetery right in the middle of their village center. It was kind of like eerie how similar it was. The building design type is the same things that were in the form-based code and the like that cottage rural type feel. And so we put together a PowerPoint mainly to be able to, when we get to planning board, especially with the form-based code and even further on with council and, the public or whoever, show them like, this is that vision, this is that goal, this is what this, not the plan, but that form-based code regulatory language is trying to achieve. So,
and I think it starts, well, you obviously have the church that's here and the look and feel, but then you see what we're doing to the village hall and how that's looking. And then you look at these photos from this town, it's like this all makes sense and how this all can come together, where the fear mongers that are out there, saying, hey, we're doing all these crazy things, I think we'll understand that what we're really trying to accomplish given, the area that we're working with, so.
So I have a question. Not singling anybody out, but you said it was a 5-2 vote. I'm just curious what the two people that voted against it, if there was what the reasoning was. I'm just curious on their point of view of it.
one specifically did not see the need for this district anymore. Don't know really what happened in the last couple of months, but that's kind of where that got to. The other one was basically in that plan. There's that future land use map, which is basically that was the same map that you guys saw in the form-based code that had the residential only. And the reason, and I guess her concern was like, why is this in here? And the reason it was because that's what was in the form-based code. That's kind of what was derived. And we thought, between Tom and I, thought it would be a good idea to have a future land use map specifically for this district, because what that then does is, so when a rezoning comes, now that we're doing a conditional zoning, is you look at your overall land use plan. Okay, you got the village center boundary. Okay, that's consistent. Okay, then if it's if it's venture for mixed use, if he's applying for some type of mixed use development, well, you look at in that specific future land use map. Okay, that's consistent. So it builds in the extra layer of guidance. I mean, stuff that you guys have to tie in to be consistent with, and it's just there. It's just something similar, and it ties into what the form-based code is going to be. So that was the other vote against, was how some of the properties that were in it and didn't really agree with what they were being proposed as future land use wise.
We addressed one of them at coffee with council.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just curious what the reasons were, and just for my background on that.
Well, it is a public, is it taped?
The meeting is recorded, it's online.
Yeah,
Anybody
so
can listen to it.
you can go
Well,
hear exactly what the
There,
comments
I
are.
will tell you just from the meeting we had with the meet and greet, and from one of the people that we talked to the other day, they're still, and you know what, and I'll be the first to say, it's on us, but there's still some misrepresentations that are out there, but there's still some people that don't fully understand why and how and what we're doing for the Heritage District. I mean, there are still people out there that believe that Marvin Council is actually in the development business and we're developing it. That's not our job. Our job is not to do that whatsoever. But so there's a lot of misinformation, but there's a lot of people that just don't understand it, and that falls on us. And so any venue or any way that we can clear up these misrepresentations or misguided thoughts, we need to take advantage of and make sure that it's taken care of, because I spent 45 minutes at Coffee with Council going over, and I believe that when she left, she felt much more informed, and I would almost venture to say that if you took that vote now, that would not be a 5-2.
So, well, I'm glad that got rectified at that point, but you're right, I think we do need to clarify this a lot more for the general public, so that they're not confused as to what our whole purpose is here. We're the governing body, we're not the developer. That's
Completely agree.
big.
And I'll mention the two nays on the planning board. I do have plans to meet with them like I did with you guys when it comes to the form-based code, because I want them to make sure they understand it, hear their direct questions and concerns. But that's part of the reason why this PowerPoint of this vision, because same thing, we're trying to make sure people understand what the overall goal, vision, and the intent of this district is. And I found that pictures and visuals work best, because it's like, hey, this is what we want, or this is what we're trying to do, and it makes sense instead of trying to explain it. So, so that's something, like I said, especially over the next couple months as the form-based code language starts going through the process of the committee, planning board, and to eventually council, we'll have those PowerPoints for meetings to share with the public and so on. So, I think we're heading kind of in the right direction, and hopefully everybody can participate and be aware of what we're trying to do and understand it. That's my goal.
To Jamie's point, and to anyone listening, whether it's on the tape or out there in Zoom land, do yourself a favor. Don't listen to next door. That's some of my biggest chuckles of the day, because they are so misinformed and they spread nonsense that we can't control. It is absolute nonsense in some cases, that what they're talking about, and fear mongering and all this kind of stuff. Do yourself a favor, call staff, call Hunter, call Christina, call a councilman, sit down with Coffee with Council. I'm sick and tired. I don't even look at next door anymore. So whoever's saying anything about me or anyone else, I'm not even reading, because it's, other than if I need a good laugh, because they're so misinformed. But we're doing our job. I think Hunter's doing his. I think we need to, even the people who voted no on a planning board, and we haven't decided for it as a council yet, we need to make sure if we approve this, that we got to get them on board of what we're trying to accomplish here.
I agree, and I guess the most important point from the other night and from what I've been hearing comes from why.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the most important one that we have to get on top of and stay on top of, because people are like, why are you doing that? Leave it alone. Walk away from it. Well, we can't walk away from it, Because if we walk away from it, what's going to happen is exactly what happened over here on Ray Road. And if you don't believe it'll happen, it already has happened. So what we have to address, and what's most important than any of it, is why. And I believe if we do our job in explaining why, I'm going to be very, very hard pressed to think that anyone would object to what we're doing, because, as I mentioned the other day, I'd rather deal with the devil that I know than the devil that I don't know. And I'm telling you, the devil that I don't know is more real than anyone can imagine. Because as I met with Coffee with Council, with someone from the planning board, I said, if I lived here in Marvin and I had a piece of property and someone walked up to me and said, I'll give you $50 million for that piece of property. I love you people in Marvin. I love every single one of you. Peace out. And if you don't think it won't happen, it will, because it already has. So,
You mean
with that being
de-annexation?
said, huh?
You mean de-annexation?
Yes.
Well, that's one option, is
That's
the
one option,
annexation.
but it's upon us, it's our responsibility to make sure that we address the why more so than anything else.
And if I can just add to that, is if you think about it, if you want to be part of the decision-making process or not, we have to work with landowners, because when you don't work with them and you try to tell them what's going to happen to their land, that's when the division comes and they go to the state and they ask for, to be plopped out, and you may end up seeing, a mattress store with flailing arms on the main heritage district, which we all don't want. So I'd rather work with those. Jamie's point, it has happened. You can see where they put the townhomes that was once part of Marvin, and now there are townhomes placed in that location. And then on the other matter was, let's face it, across from Coles is a perfect example that abuts next to Marvin is what says Marvin more than a three-story level storage facility right next to Coles, right next to Marvin, Canterfield Creek. And guess what? Years ago, before I was in office, before any of you were in office, there were developers that were trying to do something special over there, and council wouldn't even listen to them. And he had that property at a certain thing, and he finally kind of threw his arms up. They put a pool in, a swimming pool, and they put in a three-story facility because he could. And we had no say in it because it wasn't part of Marvin. We never worked with him. So this is a process. It's not going to get done in one meeting like people think. It's a process. I think we're doing all the right things through the surveys and everything else and meetings, but it's not going to happen overnight. And it resonates with me, and I will tell you this, that after our last meeting at Eford Park, and I'll mention his name because he's a player in this, Mr. Fincher looked at me and said, Joe, I want to do something special here in Marvin. He has 13 acres. He goes, but I'm not getting any younger, and I'm not sure what's going to happen after I'm gone, and what my kids are going to want to do, and what happens with this property. So, and I'm not saying this has to happen overnight, but I'm saying here's an individual that I truly believe wants to work with us. And in the end, the council gets to decide what happens with this. And we have a great opportunity. And, it starts with Village Hall, and we're trying to figure out everything with it. So I hope people take the time and get educated on this and what we're really trying to accomplish and why, back to the question of that. And just for the record, 9:32, I had Kim actually show in person. So
9:33.
9:33. So just for the record, put that in. So Kim is now here in person. Any other comments on the Heritage District Small Plan Area Plan?
I just want a motion to call a public hearing.
Call for a public hearing for the
Okay.
meeting.
So there's a motion on the table. Call for public hearing on November 6th. Oh,
November
9th.
9th.
I'm sorry. At 6 p.m. Further discussion? All's in favor?
Who made the motion?
Kim did.
Okay.
Nay.
You're
I
in
don't
there.
want it that day.
Oh,
It doesn't matter.
okay. All
It
right.
passed.
Okay. It didn't pass unanimously, but one no vote. All right, thank you. Next up, we have discussion consideration of cell phone policy revision.
So currently, the village offers cell phones for eligible employees and council. We don't have a stipend option for individuals who wish to use their personal cell phone to conduct Village of Marvin business. I attached the current cell phone policy and highlighted changes to that, proposed changes, and then also a stipend policy for eligible employees and council that want to use their own cell phones. The stipend policy would be $50 per month if you choose to use your own cell phone rather than use a Village of Marvin cell phone that we provide.
So you're saying if we turn in our phones and we use our own,
Correct.
we get a stipend of an additional $50 because that's essentially what it's costing us.
Correct.
Okay, and just for the record, one of the reasons why we all were given cell phones or we established cell phones is because of frivolous, in my view, frivolous lawsuits that occurred, that they started asking for all the information on our cell phones, which I don't know if any council member is comfortable surrendering a cell phone with their photos and personal information on that to attorneys, where what we can do is submit it. I guess they can subpoena it, but we can submit that information in a lawsuit if there was, for instance, someone accusing us of an illegal meeting and wanting to see if we're trading text altogether and stuff. We can go to those specific dates on your own phone, or you can just, you know, I just think from this is the opinion of one, from my standpoint, there's nothing that I'm concerned about what I'm dealing with the village. The only concern I have is I don't need anyone just being able to access my personal information as far as an email I traded with a good friend or something like that.
Right.
So how you prevent that from happening, I'm not sure. But you know, that's kind of why we did it. We issued those. I don't know how many of us are using it. I call it the bat phone. It stays with me. But it's, in my view, it was a $5,000 waste of taxpayers' money because of lawsuits that occurred, and it was a level of protection for all of council to separate personal from their work at the village here. So.
And then I guess it would be your option then whether you want to use the village provided cell phone or take the stipend monthly, either one. And then I updated, I made some changes to the current cell phone policy just to make it more for today's day and age about not going over your contracted minutes, messaging, data allowances.
I would like an option too, and this is personal for me, is if we're gonna do this and give them, you're saying we're giving them an option, keep your cell phone or get a stipend.
Keep your Village of Marvin cell phone, yep. Or you can get a monthly stipend in exchange, only for those who are eligible to receive the phone.
Right. So for me, personally, I'd like the option to not take that stipend and just use my cell phone and not, because I don't want to cost the village any more money. This is me personally. And if someone wants to take, yes, it will take time to go through your emails and say, oh, the emails I had, exchanges I had with a council member, I could easily pull those off here. That would take me some time versus just handing over a phone and saying, here, look at whatever you want. But I already know my habits. When I'm changing emails, it's usually with my personal phone anyway. So
Right.
For me, I just assume.
So you would waive your stipend.
Waive this. I give the council member individually an option to waive the stipend because I don't see a need for it. I don't see a need for the cost other than to protect that individual who is in office.
I mean, I think most businesses, and if you are not using a device provided for you, they pay for you to use your own, give you a stipend monthly for
to
that.
Use your own
yeah.
phone.
So like for staff that has a cell phone, I think that's a
that
normal,
makes sense.
a normal, like, you know, internet or phone, because we all are conducting a lot of business outside of these walls.
Anyone else, feel free to chime in on the cell phone if anyone uses it or if it's.
I'm ready to turn mine in now.
I'll give you mine today.
Excellent.
Mine's being charged at home.
Yeah, mine is too.
So then we would probably then cancel those lines because
Yep.
we're paying for them monthly. And
Sure.
of course, like I look over what's being used and know most of the council phones are not being used.
Right,
So maybe
right.
a few minutes here or there.
But could there be a plan if somebody or staff, because I think there are a few staff members that
Yeah,
are
we are
issued
using
it.
them.
Okay, yeah, and I usually get responses from you, so I will say that and stuff, so just, you know, if everyone's okay with it. It's gonna be on your own to decide
Yeah.
because of the personal matters. For me, I just assume save collectively and just get rid of it, so.
Are you okay with others? What?
I said it should be a wash at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, are you fine with still offering the stipend for other council members?
Oh
that-
yeah, I mean I think it's gonna be up to them. I don't think everybody has a cell phone anyways. Are you using it for work? So I can see the point of, you know, $50 whatever it is and stuff. But I just
It's not costing any more money. It's just, it would be a wash. Like
I
we'll
know it's not
get rid
costing
of.
anymore, but it is a cost that was added
Mhm.
because of a litigation. And we're like, wait a minute, we have to surrender our phones, and who am I surrendering it to? And it's like, well, you could subpoena me and I will get all of the information that relates to, because we had to do that, and it did take a lot of time. The easier way is, here, council, here's my phone, here's everything that's transaction. But I can tell you, right now, I'm still gonna have to go back to my regular phone anyways, because there are conversations with you and I, text, when's the meeting, or whatever it is that they want, in my personal phone, just because I haven't loaded all of my personal contacts on my cell phone, or even village contacts. I think I have yours, maybe Christina's, and a few, so. But it's just one of the things that happen in a small village when litigation occurs, frivolous stuff, crazy stuff, that, you know, and I think it was done because of an option to protect the privacy rights of individuals. And I will tell you this, county commissioners all are issued a separate phone. And we're paying for it at the county because of this exact reason. I did talk to the county commissioners. That's why they did it, because they were being sued all the time and being asked for their phone to be turned over, so.
So Jamie, you just want a motion to approve these two policies?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Could you do that?
Sure. Sure. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the cell phone policy revisions as presented.
As presented, do we have to read them? Austin? I know, I'm
No,
asking.
you don't.
Okay, if we're not changing anything,
If you're not changing anything.
okay.
I mean, if you want to.
And then whatever we want to do individually, we'll talk to you about it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, so the motion on, there's two motions or just one?
Just one,
Okay.
because it's
So
two.
moved.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
All's in favor?
I
Alright. Next up is, we can move that. 4 is now discuss, consider road assessments for
underbrush.
non-village roads. We're not doing underbrush.
Okay, sorry.
We're not.
Yeah, so the new 4 is discussion of considering road assessments for non-village roads.
So this has been a topic we've discussed a couple of times over the last several months. Basically, in a nutshell, statute allows us to do assessments on roads. We have had HOAs to talk to us about potentially taking on their roads that aren't paved, or either that are in disrepair, that need resurfacing, that are under private ownership. The only way that they are willing to do that is if we go ahead and pave them and then in turn assess the property owners. By statute, we can do that. I had mentioned this to you guys before, and you were potentially interested in looking at allowing this to happen with the opportunity to procure a loan from a bank so that we're not floating our own cash. I have spoken to some financial folks, and essentially it's going to be nearly impossible for us to get a loan for roads. It is possible, but he said that there's lenders out there that just aren't gonna go for it because it's not a secured form of loan. You can't foreclose a road, essentially. So if we're going to do it, we're gonna have to float the money with our cash funds. We've got roughly $1 million in fund balance. If y'all are interested in doing it, we can look at it on a case-by-case basis, but
So my biggest concern is, are we financially in a position that we could easily do that? And I would say, given that we try to keep the tax rate low, that I would be inclined to say no right now to floating that. Especially loans are, and to your point, unsecured loans. But even if we, with the intent to own the roads, obviously, there wouldn't be a way to, if the roads are turned over, they're turned over after they're paved or before they're paved, or how does that work?
what
Because
would
they're
happen?
not DOT right now, right?
No, what would happen is they would all sign a petition that basically says that they're gonna do this.
So you need 100% of the residents that live on that road, 100%.
No,
No.
you
don't
need
have to have-
majority of the linear footage ownership.
Right.
Okay.
So even if there's 10 property owners, but
It could
4 of
maybe
them
get done
own.
with 6.
Yeah, yeah.
With their signatures and stuff.
But then if there's 4, if there's 10 and 6 get it, those 4 people are like, well, I didn't want it, I'm not paying it
They
back.
have to.
How do you force their hand?
It goes on their tax bill as an assessment, and it's just like any other tax.
Can't they just short it?
It's an
No.
improvement.
We can foreclose on it at that point.
I mean, I still don't like it. I don't like doling out cash for stuff. If they want to get it up to snuff and then us take it over, I'm great with that.
Okay.
But I don't,
Yeah,
we don't have enough money.
We have to just set the guidance on that, set the standard on that, where if you gotta bring it up
Right.
and then do it. I don't, for a little bit that we have to be responsible for us, but I don't think we're in the road business.
You make a great point, because if you think about it and how we've approached DOT, we say, no, DOT, we're not taking the roads over until they're up to your own standards, which in a lot of cases they weren't. So that should be, in my view, applied to those homeowners that have that private road, because that's how they bought that. That's how it was deeded. It was never meant to be
That's right.
a public road, and it was a private road. So I think we put, in this opinion of one, we put the policy in effect. It's very similar to DOT. Happy to take your roads over, but you got to get them up to our standards, or which I think they are our standards, rather than, or even DOT, however we word that, before we move forward on that. Because I'd be happy to do that, but why should that be put on us in any way? And then to your point, Kim, you got 6 out of 10, being assessed, and the other 4, I always wanted my country dirt road.
Yeah, then we gotta foreclose on somebody, and then, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a thing, like, it's too much.
And I totally agree with everybody that has spoken in the room. So I'm with y'all.
That would be an encouragement for annexation, though.
Well, some of these are in Marvin.
But even if they annex in,
They still gotta get
they
their roads
still
up
got to
and
get their
stuff.
roads, because
I'm not
they're
paying
just
for it.
Marvin, but their roads were their roads when they bought their home on 6-8 acres, because this is all on larger properties anyways. And for all I know, they want those dirt roads. Maybe it's easier for the horses to, I mean, that was one of the arguments I remember hearing, that they didn't want to pave their roads because of some people who had horses that would walk along the streets, and it was easier. And I'm not a horse guy, so I may be speaking out of line, but I think that was one of the excuses of why they didn't want to go to paved roads.
Okay,
What's that?
that's all I needed from.
So you're just making it
From
up
y'all
as
on
you
that.
go along.
I make it.
You're making it up.
I make stuff up, yeah, all the time. All right, so
That was called sarcasm.
you don't need any other
In case
direction on
anybody
that?
listening. Sarcasm.
Okay, yeah, we get a lot of that here. So next up, we have number 5, review of village council minutes from 9/30/21 work session, 10/12/21 regular, and 10/14/21 fall town hall meetings.
I have no changes.
Same with me.
I'm good. Hey, why didn't we get the punch holes?
I only have
Oh,
one page.
I did them, sorry, that was my fault.
I only have
I was in
one.
class.
Shape of the
What's that? So,
punch holes.
They're not.
Punch hole. Real quick, I just had one change.
Well, I put hers in her book, I didn't have a book for me.
That's right, Jamie.
I see where we stand.
All right, it's very, very small, just September 30th meeting.
Hold on.
In the very council comments from me, you talked about Marvin Ridge High band, it's high school band, so just put high school, please. And they're doing great, by the way, I will talk about that later. They're killing it out there. You got to see them. The game
Well, we
Friday
couldn't get
night.
any games.
That's right. Austin, where are we with our games?
Pay $5.
Where are we-
Is
where
that
are
on
we
your
with our
list?
bets? Our
I'll tell you
bets?
what. If I see you come up to me, I will pay your admission fee. How about that? No, wait. That's just for council. That's just for council and staff. I'll include staff, but
Oh,
I
thank
want you
you.
to see. I want you to see this band.
I'll just say I've tried to get someone on the phone or someone to respond to an email, and I cannot get anybody at the school board.
All right,
You have
I'm
schools.
calling after this meeting. We'll sit in the office. Do it.
In lieu of, I'll put Andy on my shoulders. You can take it.
All right.
We'll be at the gate.
So I'll make that change, and it's okay if you all look, this will be on the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that done, we're moving on to discussion and consideration of Red Twig Road, stopping and standing. I didn't get it all, but I didn't read it, but
Yes.
Sorry.
is that enough on
No,
that?
you can do it.
Who's got that?
I'll take it. So this is, we've had some issues apparently with people parking on Red Twig Road, causing some issues. We have a similar ordinance to this on Grove's Edge. It's basically copied and pasted the same ordinance. So it would basically allow us to have no parking signs on Grove's Edge, which we already have, and then Red Twig that follows the same.
So we
pattern.
gotta pollute it with more signs, right? That's what we're gonna
Well-
do, add a sign?
Yes. Well,
You know, these people, it frustrates me because that's just pollution that we don't need, is sign pollution. I look at it as one more sign in a beautiful neighborhood when people just can't take the time to go through a flipping line to drop their kid off the right way and not, try to cheat the system. So it's, and it just poisons. Perfect examples are no U-turn, because you can't go a few more yards down the road and make the U-turn there. You're using our driveway here, so it's shameful, but people have to understand those little things people do, how it affects us. There's a cost to it, and then there's the eyesore that you have to look at, which is unfortunate.
I think the residents will be just fine with the eyesore.
Yeah, it's a bigger eyesore with all the traffic in front of their house.
It's 25 cars. Some kid almost got hit by a bike yesterday.
How about this? Can we just put an ordinance in that all streets in that area around the school that you can't do it, and we don't have to put a sign? Do we have to put a sign to make it illegal?
Yes.
You do have to put a sign.
Yeah.
Okay, well, never mind.
It's an ordinance just like this, Joe. So I have to post it so that people know the law.
It's in the same way that we have to have a sign for the no left turn.
But we can assess civil penalties, which we couldn't before.
No, I
Correct?
understand. I
Correct.
understand.
Yes.
So
Yep.
we can make a little bit of money on it.
Well, it's.
Did we get the money?
It's not about the
We get
money.
that
It's
money.
about.
We get that money.
I
it's
I
not.
ride by that Grove's Edge all the time. I see that sign. I just think, just shake my head and go, it's just ugly. It's just
It
an
is.
ugly sign.
It is. But
I feel for the people that are affected by it.
Yeah.
And they would, and trust me, they wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't just an absolute.
it's a safety issue.
It's a safety issue,
Right.
more so than anything.
I stopped to take a picture of the sign, and I thought some lady was about to bite my head off. I was like, I'm just taking a picture of the sign. I'm just, I was like, I'm just, So, I think we should absolutely approve it. I think it's a safety thing, and it's an easy fix. It's not like crosswalks and things like that. This is a much easier fix, and then we can enforce it, and we can have Tommy and Mason there in the afternoons, we can ask them, and Tommy said he's more than happy to go over there and enforce that and write some tickets.
Okay.
Right?
Any other discussion?
Nope.
We got your marching orders?
All right, so we need a motion. So I need a motion to approve, I don't have it in front of me, I don't know where it is. Approve ordinance ordinance for the village hall. What do you want me to do, that one, there's no number, or just this one? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance amending chapter 75 parking schedules prohibiting on-street parking on both sides of Red Twig Road, street.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, next up, that was number 6. Number 7 is discussion consideration of neighborhood surveillance.
We're gonna table that.
Yeah, because Mason was supposed to be here.
He's tied up right now.
Okay, so we're gonna table that to the regular meeting or next work session.
There's no next work session
He
There
may
will
get
be
here in
eventually.
time, but
in January.
we'll carry it to the next work session unless he gets here by the
Okay,
end of the meeting.
all right, so we'll table that. And next up, we have discussion consideration of park lights. I'm assuming that's Derek.
No, that's me.
Oh.
So I was at the park for the bats on Tuesday night, which was awesome. Like, Bob was there, Claudia came, Jason and I went. It was awesome. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Did they have bats?
No. But I learned a lot about bats.
They were
So-
there. You just didn't-
I didn't see, they did not have any inside the barn. So I was talking to a member of the community, and they were there on the fall town hall.
She spoke to me too.
Huh?
She spoke to me too.
Well, this was a man, so I don't
Oh,
know who
we
you
got
talked
two
to.
then.
So after the fall town hall meeting, they were walking to their car, and it's dark, like dark, and dangerous, and especially when we have events like that. So I said, well, we've had some, low beam lights, but kids keep ripping them out, or somebody keeps ripping them out. So they mentioned, can we do some decorative street lights that, like, tall lights that aren't too tall, that go off at a certain, like, once the park closes, those lights turn off. But we can at least get it so that people can get to their cars safely.
Can we do?
Or do some sort of light.
Because it's the trail leading to the parking lot that you're referring to, right?
Or
That's so
or
dark,
walking down the street, because some people don't know that trail's there, and they're, especially, like, if, I didn't know where I was going when I was leaving National Night Out or something, and it was
Did you have low
dark.
voltage down there on that trail?
Yes.
Or were those solar?
Low voltage.
But they
And
got ripped
they've
out.
gotten-
Yeah.
So you can't. There are deck lights that you can mount like on trees that will shine down that are actually attached
Okay.
for low voltage, which would be good. I think for one, it's easy to control them. They're not dangerous because they're 12 volt, and it's less expensive than.
And they're up in the
streetlights.
tree, so they rarely get unless
Right.
the tree comes down.
Right. So that might be an option there.
I'm
Any other place?
I'm open to suggestions. I'm just relaying some concerns because, again, safety concerns.
Spotlights too on the side.
Full
of the
disclosure, I walked across the lawn from the barn and I completely forgot about the big railroad ties that are there for parking, and I flipped over one. It's because it's that dark. So
Yeah.
I know it's that dark. We tried to do it. So I would suggest, I like what Andy's talking about, but I would suggest, because it's a park, right? We could do something really cool that, guides people with up lighting and stuff. Yes, it's a little bit of money, but we're investing in the park in many ways. This may be a way there's a lot of evening events there, getting people safely, and maybe put it on, someone like Derek to kind of look at. No, I mean, they're saying, look at where would it make sense to put lighting, and I'm thinking of a post.
I know, I
For a
we could do
park.
like a really cool post.
Right.
I'm
It's
thinking
just-
like a Mary Poppins park post, like those.
Oh, we're
They
going
go
down
off.
Mary Poppins Road.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they had cool
Areas,
posts
lighting.
in Mary Poppins Land.
The thing about what you're talking about is if we're adding lamp posts and such, that's a lot of money running power. So if we can stick with the low voltage, that's cheap and can do the job. So if we go out there, Derek and I can walk it and see what we can come up with and see if there's anything that's absolutely needed on a post, because it's going to be expensive dropping 120 volt line copper wire has gone through the roof.
Well, I don't necessarily want it to
Expenses.
be cheap, because I don't want it to look cheap.
No, I'm just saying that low voltage is a much less expensive. You can
Okay.
get really nice stuff, but it's a less expensive wiring system versus 120 volt wiring system. We
Okay.
added a bunch years ago to the park so that we had enough power for Christmas lights and such, and it was a very expensive proposition. So
And I have it in my backyard, so when I invite you at some point to my backyard, you can see how it does do a nice job of lighting up what
Right.
you need to see,
So,
and
so
it's
could you
way
guys
up in the
provide
tree.
some examples, since I will never be invited to do it?
come by my house. You can come by any day, Kim, and I'll show you my lighting.
Well, we need to have, we need to do something, because it
Mine's
is a
in
safety
front.
issue.
I agree.
So, sorry Derek, but can you guys look into it and see like what we can come up with?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at this years ago,
I'm sure,
you know, and it was very expensive.
yeah.
Very expensive. And,
Are we talking very expensive, like 20 grand or like 100 grand?
probably right in the middle
Like
of
60?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, 50,
Um,
60,000. It was expensive.
Our problem, or not our problem, but one of the bigger challenges with the price tag is the layout of, everybody wants to be at the barn, right? Well, where the parking goes
Right,
those directions.
Right.
You know, it's not like Elon where there's a big giant, you know, rectangle right in front of your main amenity.
right.
And so we're talking about paths and parking lots, and then a longer path and a bigger parking lot. And so,
And we would bring the big lights to shine down on special events for people would stay in late, National Night Out, whatever it was.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
we would throw that down on the
Yeah.
parking lot, but that's just for special events.
And we didn't do
So
it
that
last
is not
year.
that big of a special event. I don't know how many people showed up.
Well,
but
there was like, there might have been more people
We'd
there
be
than
cheaper
National
buying
Night
a
Out.
couple of those.
Do we still have them?
There's they do make low voltage post lights as well that you can put on a post that would work for illumination. So
I mean, it is, I mean, it just,
yeah,
we
you don't need it bright.
something.
You just
No,
need something
because
for.
I understand we've got, you know, I know that we've got
Walking.
neighborhoods, but we need something for safety. And again, they can get turned off at a certain time, like when the park's closed, turn them off.
The post lamps actually have no up. It's all down. So
Yeah.
it's surface where you're walking, and that's going to be really good for light pollution as
Yeah.
well. So.
I
I mean,
definitely
I'd
use
be
my
glad to
flashlight
walk
to
up
go to the
there, walk
bathroom.
around, see if we
Yeah,
can
It's
lay out
dangerous.
Yeah,
something
It's
else.
just- it's
We'll look at some stuff and get some options.
okay,
So whenever you're free,
thank you.
whenever you're
We'll get it
free.
on the next work session, so January. Is that okay? We won't have one in November, we won't have one in December.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's when we'll have to do it, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
So we have some, I think right now, given our budget and with everything
Oh, her,
we're doing over at Village Hall and some of the costs that we don't know about,
I don't know.
the easier
James
way to
laughed
the
at me,
point
yeah.
is, I've done that lighting myself. It's that easy and it's not.
Oh, perfect, did
so-
you just
Volunteer hours.
yourself?
I will take that,
There
I will
was a-
take that under
There was a
review.
bunch of trash in the roundabouts the other day, are you guys getting out there to clean that
We're
up again?
working on trash too, so.
When Christina interjects, it's time we beat that one to death. And she is saying, she is politely and roundabout saying, all right,
We got it.
enough, let's go, let's move on.
Next thing.
Next up, we have e-communications discussion of November
Open topics?
2021.
Open topics?
That's a good idea.
Hey, can we have some
Oh, open topics, yeah.
Yeah, can we do that?
Yeah, sorry, open topics. I went right past that, so.
That's
I
like your
have
favorite.
actually two
I know.
things, and you have one, Joe, so don't
Okay.
pass it up.
Don't mess
You got two things?
Pass it up.
Oh, pass it up, I thought you said mess it up, I'm like,
But
dang.
don't do that either.
Alright,
By the way, if anyone is ordering lunch, I do need your order soon.
I'm not gonna be here for lunch, I don't know what you guys are
I'm
doing.
here for lunch, and I don't know, so I'm gonna get real chatty if I'm here for
You're
lunch.
already
I know, let's
over
go.
time, so it's already 10:12. Okay.
I got yelled at by these two because I met someone at Bell Grove who happened to be from close to my hometown, and I was
All right, let's
just,
go.
you know.
All right.
Just, that's the deadline, so give it to me if you want it.
Moving on.
May I speak for open topics, please?
Yes,
Okay.
I did open it up.
All right, so in front of you, except for you, Bob, there's a colored diagram. Bob Nunnenkamp and I met at the traffic circles to discuss updated plantings for the traffic circle. We came up with some, I think, some pretty good ideas that will allow us to have greenery and color all year long. So there, the green and the outer, we are thinking about a wintergreen boxwood, which is a very low-growing boxwood. It's very hardy, works well with full sun. It would give a nice green edge around it. They'll only get about 2 feet tall, so it will not obscure the rest of the plantings in the bed. The loropetalum is existing. That, once we get irrigation in there, will have tendency to get a lot nicer. We'll be able to trim it, get a nice shape to it as it grows. The lantana, we would like to move it back a little bit, and in between some encore azaleas, the autumn royalty, which is the flowers are very similar in color to what he's drawn on here. So they'll bloom twice a year at least, and you may get some blooms even during the summer months. They're very hardy. They'll do well in the full sun. They stay leafed out year round, and then that, of course, the color. The muley grass is good where it is. That has a nice kind of a pinkish purple on top of it this time of year. It'll get a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker, but not too much more. And then the inner circle, which that's one detail that was missed. We're also thinking about doing the boxwoods in a hedge around the base of the tree in the center to give that a little bit more color and definition. And it will hide the trunk of the tree, which is not necessarily all that attractive, but it'll also give greenery year round because these boxwoods will stay green year round. And as far as the trees go, my thought, and Bob agreed, is that when Keith, the urban forester, comes back to look at the trees that we are going to select to be thinned and such around Village Hall for the sightline, we would ask him to give us some suggestions for trees that would work well in that position that we could pick from. The tree can go in, I mean, we're talking a couple weeks before he comes back, so we figured we'd get some good, strong suggestions from a tree expert, what would work very well in that traffic circle that would look nice, and we can pick from that.
That doesn't obstruct.
What did we have in there before?
Red buds, right? Isn't that what we had in there? I think we had red buds in there, then they didn't.
There's a fuchsia looking tree.
Japanese maples
I think
look nice in it.
I think it was a red, but they're short. Well, there are
Well, you don't want
Japanese
too big of
maples
a
that are
trunk
tall.
though, because you want to be able to see.
Well, I know, but if it's short splice and got all the leaves, and you can't see.
There are some varieties of Japanese maples that are not that short fountain-looking one.
Yeah.
That do get about 10-15 feet tall, and there are some reddish leaf
Do we not
forms.
like the red bud? I mean, that's what we approved the first time around.
What are those trees
Yeah,
that go
I don't
up
know.
there in front of my house?
I mean, like I say, I think that
Multiple branches.
I would like to just
Straight myrtle.
defer to Keith, this is his expertise, give us some options that we can pick from that would be the best suited for that area.
So the people that planted it last time, they're supposed to be replacing them.
Right.
So,
I mean,
for free.
yeah, but if we want something different than a red bud that they can replace for free, then is there a problem with that?
Or they, I don't know if they'll replace it for free if it's not the same thing.
We can, I guess we can get, I mean, getting, ideas are free, right, Joe? So if we ask Keith for his ideas, I don't think that would hurt.
Okay.
Because that's gonna be in the next week or two, so.
So.
I just like something we're not always replacing, so it's something
Right.
that continues to come back. I mean, I even like the idea of tulips. Once you plant them, they tend to keep coming back. And with the yellow flower comes up around Easter.
Daffodil,
Daffodils, those come back a lot.
Those,
they get messy and.
and they're, the last, gonna
Color.
last long.
I know.
So these
So-
plants here will last a while.
Is Bob good with this plan?
Yes, Bob and that Bob, or?
No,
Bob
I can't.
Nunkamp. Yes, we came up with this together.
Okay.
Um,
So if you guys are good with this, I'm good with this. I don't know diddly squat about plants. So I would say let's get quotes now that we know what the plants are. As long as everybody's good with this, and let's get the quotes and move on.
Okay.
We've been
And we
talking
can
about this
point to you and
forever.
Bob if it doesn't turn out.
Yep.
Nice. Right.
Not you, Bob Markleese. Not you, buddy.
I got you.
Looking out for you, pal.
okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
And I have one more thing.
Oh, goodness.
I know it's,
God.
but so I want to say the coffee with council Tuesday was extreme.
I heard you lost the bet.
Oh, by a long shot.
Over
Yeah,
under.
we
By
had
a long shot.
4 people
It's your
show up
first
for
win.
coffee with council, which I think is a record. It was kind of
Five.
Five.
It's election day.
I'm sorry,
It's election.
Five.
That's why.
So, very, very successful, had a lot of good commentary, a lot of good discussion. And one of the people that came in, her name is Allison Rhodes. She lives in Weddington Chase, and she is looking for a dog park. She's tried to get one in Weddington Chase, but the people that are adjacent to the property that would have worked are not in favor of it. I myself, dog parks are great. It's just a matter of finding a spot for it. I don't know if there's any space at the park that could be designated for anything like that. I don't know if there are any options on the Village Hall site that could be designated for that, but it gives people opportunity to exercise their pets in a safe environment, socialize with other dogs, that kind of thing. And it also brings, it's a socialization for people who have the same interests. People will come together and talk and such. So in this grand scheme of things that everybody is trying to do is trying to bring the community together. And this is one thing that could possibly do that. So I think it's a good idea myself, but throwing it out there to see if there's feasibility for it, and it's something that we want to try to.
What
run
do people
down.
do now with the dogs at the park? Because I know my
Leash.
neighbors bring
We have
their.
leash laws.
They have to be leashed, and her concern is that she's an elderly woman, and her concern is controlling her animals on the pathway. She doesn't feel safe walking on the path, and it's short, so it's just a
Hold
round.
on. Wait. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
That was what she expressed to me. And
What doesn't she feel safe about? The fact that she's by herself on a path?
it's
or
the
that
dog
she can't-
controlling
The dog
her
controlling the
dog.
dog.
She can't control her dog.
Yeah.
So we
The
want
footing is what she's concerned about. The footing, when she's got her dog leashed, she's concerned. That's her.
I think she wants to be able to have her dog run free versus having to always worry about controlling it, given her age and stuff. So, which
So-
makes sense.
It's-
dog gets out.
But
Where did she propose a place to put it?
well, that was what she was asking, because she couldn't get one in Weddington Chase in her neighborhood because of the situation there. She asked about the park. I said I didn't know if there was enough space at the park.
What about the pocket park?
It's and there's another idea, and I had thought about that too, but
What's the liability of having a dog park? Like, what happens if dogs are out and they bite another dog, or they bite somebody else?
Yeah,
all the
Dogs are
information is
responsible.
right here. She
As long as
put
you-
together
yeah.
a whole packet of insurance and all this stuff.
I
She's
know,
done
but
a lot
do
of
we have to
research.
get insurance?
Because we're providing a venue or an area.
That's my concern. Is then can they come sue the village?
I think every owner is responsible for their
Yeah.
own
Well,
dog.
yeah, they
Yeah,
are,
as long as you
but if
properly
you're on village property,
Well,
then you can sue us for, you
but
know.
still, I mean-
They can still sue, but if there's no negligence.
Yeah.
then-
And
Proper
there's
signage.
a lot of information on that here that she provided. I have not had an opportunity to read it.
What
but-
happened with council on Tuesday?
So, I'm thinking
Just
of that
kidding.
little area
It's all
where
sarcasm.
they had the horses at the park. Why can't we use that area that's already fenced in and kind of fenced?
Well,
It's
so
not big enough?
a dog
Well, I
park.
thought there was at one point there was a wooden fence.
Okay, well, a dog park would require, most of them that I have seen have been a chain link fence. There's one in the
That's
Artery
attractive.
subdivision.
You can do metal.
But there,
you can
well, you don't, the one over in Artery is, it's a black chain link fence. It's about 3 foot tall. It has a double gate entry so that when you walk in and you close the gate behind you, let your dog loose and then open the gate so that the dogs don't get out and then they can run within the enclosure. I mean, if it's in an area where it's not like right out in front, but back in the back of the park.
How big are dog parks usually?
They vary.
There's a ton of interest in this from the park goers. It would cost some money, but I think we need to bring in a professional park designer, planner, somebody who can take a look at our space and see it on a macro level, and tell us where would be the right spot for it. Do we need to take out trees? Do we add trees? What slope? To use, and, we might have to move a disc golf basket or two to accommodate this, but if we don't bring some professionals in, and then we're just gonna keep patching stuff here and there, lighting and, disc golf and picnic shelters, and they're all great, but I'm not a professional park designer, and I wanna do this stuff, I wanna do it right, so that we're not.
So how about you guys do some research on this?
So- May I propose this? We are going to, because all this stuff, this is community stuff. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just on Marvin. We're gonna be at Wilmette this afternoon. And I've proposed for years to mayors saying, let's get a bond together and let's control some of what this sprawl growth of homes and all get together and have a centralized park, like almost soccer fields and stuff like that, where we find that location. And our miss, in my view, was the opportunity across from Meaford Park, where they had all that land that they put $600,000 to $1 million homes, but there was tons of land right there. And, where you have a bond and you do that. But I know that there are other parks, and Weddington's looking to make it a park. Wesley Chapel has a current park, and they may have room for that we could maybe, with all the communities together, saying this is for Union County, Western Union County, this is the dog park place. Yeah, you may have to travel a little bit, but it's a place to take that doesn't impede with what we're doing. It could be at Eaver Park, it could be at Wesley Chapel, it could be at the future Weddington that they want to park that they want to put together, but I will mention that, we can mention that at today's meeting, if you guys are okay with that, because I don't necessarily think it has to be put on just Marvin, especially if we don't have the room, and space is critical right now anyways. I thought about Firethorn, I thought, what property would they even allow at Firethorn? There's no way they're gonna do that, because it's private. So, just an option.
Yeah, Derek, I don't hate the idea of having somebody come in and kind of take a look so that we don't junk up the park.
And it's not just the dog park either.
Right.
I
We
think
have
when
we
agree-
have the pocket park. That could be an option to do something. But you're right. We're not park planners and.
But I'm saying from a cost wise, we share in the cost with other communities and say, okay, maybe there's a piece of property out there that we could all
Yeah.
come together and have
Look
saying,
into it.
this is the central location for this, and it's the dog park.
That's a good possibility, but I think, to Kim's point, I think, and Derek's, I think we should do an analysis of the park to see what we can set aside, what we can't, where we should arrange things, because not even just the dog park, but anything else we add to the park, we're starting to get kind of full down there. So having a good plan as to how to design this park, just like the Heritage District, anything else we're planning, you need to have a good plan.
All right, so staff's gonna look into it. Christina made a good suggestion. We can look at Part F grants and make Part F.
Part F.
That's what I said, Part F, didn't I?
Yeah.
Part of,
Part F.
Part
Park and Recreation
F.
Trust Fund.
Yeah,
Jesus.
50-50
Okay.
don't blame you.
match.
All right. Anything else on open topics?
Not from me.
You have
You're
something,
saying
don't
have
mess
to
it up.
remember. No, yeah. This was just something, and I'm gonna shout out to Diane, I believe it was, from Belle Grove, who invited us to her home yesterday and addressing the issues of that neighborhood. And there are some serious concerns about the runoff and how things, after the meeting, I talked to Hunter a little bit about, you know, what they learned from the new developer. Keep in mind that it has changed hands multiple times. Shea owned it at one point, now it's Empire, but it was a variety of different. So they're having a lot of issues, everything from too many trees being cut down that they admitted to, you know, all those different, the buffering concerns with that. But we had a very nice meeting with them. They were a little concerned they haven't seen sheriff's officers at all. So we'll have to ask our officers if, you know.
Are they looking all the time?
Yeah, I know, that's just it. They could go in there, it's just a one-time in and back out and stuff. But we'll just confirm that they are going through there, like, and, you know, I'm told.
I never see them in my neighborhood either, but I'm pretty sure.
I
they're
catch them on mine, but I'm, you know, always out in my front yard. So.
You just sit in the driveway
I
in
do,
your car, don't you?
on a rocking chair.
On a rocking chair, that's
Away from
right.
people.
Old man Polino.
But anyways, it was a very nice meeting with them. I just want to let you guys know that there are some serious concerns, and this was all done, I believe, as I was coming into office in 2013. So we've learned a lot about developments of neighborhoods, one being the roads. So we may be on the hook for, at some point, for some roads. But, you know, anytime a developer, we didn't have standards back then. Roads are deteriorating. I say we just let it continue, let them build out, and then we still have a bond of about $100,000. There's a lot of things that need to be mitigated there, which may exceed the $100,000 bond, so, but that would help. But very nice family, and another lady joined us, Heather, and I just think that I want to make you guys aware of it, that may be coming up on the agenda. It's along Bonds Grove Road, there's some issues there, and there's some ideas we have that we'll get into once it gets on the topic, but I just wanted to make you guys aware that that meeting did take place with Derek, myself, and Andy, so that's all I have. Next up is communications, discussion of November 2021 communications.
Okay, 1 second. Okay. So we got the list here in your packet. I know I didn't check the schools again, I just thought about that.
No school November 11th, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th.
Okay,
Austin,
say that again, no school what?
November 11th, the 24th, 25th, 26th. That's all I had. Because you missed it. If you had to put it on there, I hadn't had anything for you.
Does anyone else have any other topics or anything?
Good.
Keep looking, keep thinking about it. Go through your phone, see if you see anything.
I don't know. Bob, do you have anything?
No, I'm looking at it. It looks pretty full, but
Lastly, this is the deadline for lunch. So if you want food, this is the deadline.
Oh, we do lunch?
I will point out that someone, I don't know who I was talking to recently. Oh, I think it was from Belle Grove. They said, whoever is doing communications is awesome. So, just,
Good to know.
yeah. Maybe it wasn't them. It was someone else. I'll remember. Someone just told me that. I'm like, he's our man. So, thank you.
Great job, Austin.
Don't make me blush now.
All right. Anything else from anyone? trying to I'm trying to think what.
Got very distracted.
I did. No, because I'm trying to remember
Lord.
who that person was. It was a nice lady, and it wasn't from Bell Grove or somewhere else.
Time for
It
lunch?
was, okay. Anyway, anything else? All right, moving on. Village Hall. Christina.
Okay, I have a lot. Well, not really a lot, but.
Enough that I gotta order lunch?
Yes.
So just a couple of, you've seen the paint work being done, the curb and gutter was poured, electrical and the wall passed inspection, the plumbing had to be re-inspected for whatever reason. The siding contractor will continue the siding in the columns up into this week, into next week. Insulation is getting ready to start if it hasn't started already, and then also the drywaller will be coming in immediately after that. So that's kind of the progress update. They're still thinking January-ish.
He's saying I was there a couple days ago. He says he's trying to get us to have a Christmas party there.
He is, yes.
So
We, I did, that's their plan, but we have to coordinate the furniture delivery and all that stuff with it. Until they can give me some really solid numbers, I can't coordinate the furniture. So there's a chance we may be in there in December, but we won't have furniture.
for all of you that
totally
make
fine.
comments and don't like yellow, you can now drive by the town hall and look
It's
at the very.
two-tone.
It's the very
It's gonna
top
be
is
yellow
what it's
and
going to
white.
look like. Is the very top is already painted and finished, black and white, and that gives you a good idea what town hall is going to look like completely when. But they did paint the very top. But things are progressing very well. I did a little quick walkthrough, and I'm very
So for
excited.
me,
The weather has worked in our favor
Yes.
considerably.
So, anything else, Christina? You got a little side conversation over there?
Yeah, that's all I have.
you have more about Village Hall. Sorry.
So just to follow up on that, the plumbing, there was they had to tear out a little bit of concrete because they had a
I
leak
saw
in the
that.
drain.
Yeah.
And that was why it didn't pass inspection. They had a leak in the drain, which they have now repaired.
Did they fix the outlets in the floor?
They had them cut out and they were getting ready to change those. They're working on that as well.
Okay.
They have
Sorry.
gravel in the
That's a lot of
parking
work.
lot. They're going to be putting down binder next week, which is for those of you that know that term. That's the asphalt that goes under the top layer to be put down next week. But all the curb and gutter is done. They've been working on sidewalks this week. They've got most of the sidewalks poured as well.
We're gonna get some nice rocking chairs for the back.
It's right around this corner.
Yep, right here, that big box. I get it. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a little bit confusing. I'm trying my best to explain it. So, if you look at the far left hand side, at
Sorry,
the very
it's so
bottom.
small.
Sorry,
So small.
the far left hand side where it says cash and fund, at the very bottom.
Right here.
This is where y'all initially started the ordinance to start saving money for Village Hall. You started with $750,000, you put in another $215,000, so you had roughly $1 million in the capital project fund. So over the years, we've spent that money down on plans and surveys and that sort of thing. So right before we went out to loan, to figure out what the loan amount was going to be that we borrowed, we looked at how much we had in the bank, and then we also looked at what we thought the project was going to cost based off of estimates and the bids that came back. So go back up to the top, you'll see we've got a 1.174 loan after the attorney bills were paid. Plus what was in the cash at that time was what was in the cash at that time was $860. Are you following me? Those numbers?
Yep.
Okay. So the total funding that we had committed at that point was $2 million. So far, we've spent $886, and we've committed another $1 million and some change. So we roughly have another $120,000 left to spend. We will spend it, so just letting you know that that's kind of where we're at. We're very on target for finishing financially what we had anticipated it was going to be. We may end up having a small surplus, but that's where we're at.
Christine, does this have anything to do with any of the AMH funding that we're using?
So if you notice in there on the right-hand side, all the vendors, Randolph, Terracon, Urban, Dewberry, Yarborough, all of those are basically what our encumbrances are, what our commitments are for financial expenditures. I did not include the Security 101,
Right.
as well as the SKC, because we are using that ARP funding for that. So in lieu of paying it out of this capital fund and then reimbursing it back, we're just gonna pay it directly out of ARP. So we're not even talking about it here, just
Okay.
because it doesn't affect the numbers here.
Okay.
I will end up having to put some of the Security 101 in here,
Right.
but I will also take out some of the PMC, which is the furniture.
Right.
About $30,000 of furniture I could justify for ARP. And then, I don't know the exact number, but the access control is the only part of the security that we're gonna apply to ARP. The security cameras themselves, I can't find a rationale to tie that to COVID. So I will apply that to this money here.
This one's the furniture.
It should be a wash. So it shouldn't affect the numbers here.
Okay.
I'm gonna take 30-ish out of PNC and then I'm gonna add some back for Security 101. Does that make sense?
That does. I just want to kind of see what was added to what we would have had to pay out of our own pocket to realize that asset
Right.
in the property.
So if you wanted to look at it that way, put another 130 back into it. I'm also gonna try to take out the Sunshine, the $80,000, $78,000.
You got to pay for sunshine?
No jokes. Can't be funny.
Oh, no, that does not apply to me. I'm sorry.
That's right, just me.
In 2 years, they can,
No jokes for me,
they
sorry.
can decide whether they want my humor or not.
Sunshine and the development fees. So roughly $100,000 we may be able to take out. I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of where we're at. At the end of the day, we'll just let y'all know, because I've mentioned we're paying for X with the cash, we're paying for Y with the loan, so I want to make sure I kind of put it all in one piece of paper so y'all can see it.
So if Joe resident comes walking up to any one of us and say, what are you spending all in all at town hall there? What's the number we give them? Because I always said it was always around 1.4 and stuff. So the loan's 1.1. We have other lands. So we're looking at around approximately $2 million with everything all in, lights, turning the lights on, generator, furniture,
Yeah.
land, everything. That's we're right.
That also
on.
includes the well for the landscaping, which is the traffic circles and village hall.
And there was connectivity to sewer and water because we didn't have it over there as well. So that all in, we're right at $2 million, which I think Wesley Chapel is a little bit more.
Must be at the increased cost right now.
Yeah, so, anyways, in this time, the age and stuff, and that was one of the questions I had for the foreman there, is the concerns about, you're hearing all these stories about how delayed everything is. You have to order your Christmas gifts now. I says, is that affecting us? He said, it can and it could, which is why I don't believe we'll be in my Christmas.
But it hasn't yet.
Yes.
Yeah, they've actually been, I just was speaking with the guys that are doing the sewer line connection. They're actually doing it this week. And they were saying that they were backed up on pipe. And it's, the pipe production is
Backward
done.
on pipe.
Right, they have it, but they had been, the backups have been is petroleum-based products because petroleum's been hard to get. So it's just like everything is backed up on all fronts. So but they're doing a very good job sourcing the materials and they're staying on track. So that's the good thing.
The next thing that came around was the contingency. Just want to let y'all know where we're at in terms of contingency. I need to look at this a little bit more because I think we've double counted some of these things in our total that I just gave you, but contingency wise, we have about $34,000 left, potentially a little bit more. But we don't anticipate a whole lot more in terms of contingency expenditures.
Alright, but we're not paying for the fix of the floor where they put
We
the-
are not.
Okay, good.
So, those are all the different revisions if y'all want to look at it. Any questions?
Nope. Andy, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's all I have for Village Hall.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, we have reports and updates. First up, manager's report.
Okay, here's where I have a lot.
Sure.
Alright, do actually.
Short
Solid
lunch.
waste. Alright, so Active and Chaplain and I have been going back and forth the last 2 weeks. We hopefully are closing in on our final discussions, and we'll be putting this on the November agenda for execution, or December. So,
Financial, correct?
yes, yeah.
It'll be December.
Are there any major hiccups?
There's a couple of changes they wanted to the contract as we proposed, nothing substantial. The biggest thing is they don't want to tag items, which is basically having an individual get out of the vehicle, tagging a TV because you put a TV by the road and you're not supposed to. So it's just going to be a little educational piece on our end to help get some of those uncollectible items out there for educational purposes. That's the biggest thing. Financially, there's no huge issues. They wanted some leeway on the spillage cleanup fines that we've imposed. And I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding with the intent of those fines. They initially read it as if we wanted to fine them $3,000 if little pieces of trash went flying out on the road each time that happened. And the intent of that particular fine that they were discussing was really for huge spills where they have to drop a load on the road and come back and pick it up and clean it up. So nothing substantial as of yet.
And how are we looking as far as Weddington's concerned as well?
So Weddington, because their rates were basically in line with what we'd anticipated them to be for Weddington and or Marvin, there wasn't a combined cost share, so it's not going to affect our end of things financially. And they were actually a little bit behind us in terms of the starting and implementation, so I think they've since caught back up, and they're kind of where we are now, but it's not going to affect us. Hopefully it'll be in the next couple of meetings, but everything looks like it's slated to be scheduled as usual, as planned. But it's been a long negotiation process that we didn't expect it to take this long. Any questions on solid waste? Y'all are good? Okay. Pre-storm brine application. So I wanted to read a couple things. We've been talking about this for a couple of months now. This hasn't really been an issue as of yet because Marvin hasn't had a lot of roads under their belt, but now that we do have a good number of roads, we need to start thinking about pre-storm brine removal.
Ice
Brine,
storm
yes,
specifically.
yes. Ice and or, plowing if we're gonna do that. So the question really was to Chaplain, do we have a sense of liability if the roads are icy and public service vehicles can't get through for emergency reasons? And there is reasonable expectation to have your roads cleared so that, people can travel freely through them. I'm just gonna read a couple of things that he wrote in an email to me. Under General Statute 160A 296, the village has a duty to keep public streets and sidewalks, alleys, bridges, etc. free from unnecessary obstruction. So you really have to use your subjectivity in terms of what is an unnecessary obstruction. The failure of a municipality to remove snow and ice at once is not negligence unless the condition at the place in question is so exceptional as to demand preferential attention. And this is all based off of some court rulings. At the end of the day, the village does not have to immediately remove snow or ice, especially in internal neighborhoods. However, there should be some level of preparation or clearing for major storm events. So that's obviously not something that we've ever really talked about. We've never really budgeted.
So that was like so not even remotely clear.
Basically, he suggests that there's not liability per se in doing anything or not doing anything. However, Mike and I rode through all of our neighborhoods the other day that we own, and there are some roads that have really big hills. Hair to Joke is one. There's some that have some level of hills, but a lot of shaded evergreens that would cause icy conditions on the road. So if a fire truck needs to get to, or an ambulance needs to come to a house in the back of Hair to Joke and they can't access the road through the hill, that's an area where we probably want to start looking at some level of planning for brine application.
So go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think if we do it in one neighborhood, we have to do them in all.
No, I would disagree for this reason. When we know a storm is coming, usually way in advance, Union County makes the call and they close the schools because of not just, because we're going like, why are they closing schools? But when you look at all of Union County, they are particularly focusing on certain roads that are not things. So I think we need to just look at what roads are the biggest concerns that Union County has and say, okay, if they are now Marvin's, I think we take care of them. Otherwise, this takes care of itself within a couple hours.
So you wanna ask Union County what their quote unquote bad roads are?
Well, I'd be curious to know that there's a reason why they close the schools.
I agree.
And it's because of not our roads around here, it's because of the roads that do ice up and have an issue in buses, and so they take the precautions. They're very cautious when it comes to that, so we follow their lead. But in the end, I think we look at, out of all the Union County roads that they are really concerned about, and there's gotta be somebody in Union County that knows those roads, then let's just see if it matches up to any of, because it's the same liability on them as it would be on us, I would think, or if it was a county road or a state road.
Well, I guess our roads that we take care of wouldn't show up on their danger roads, right?
Well, I don't think so. That's what I'm just saying. Let's find out which
They would be
roads.
bus routes, and that would be the only thing that they would be concerned about is bus routes. So if our neighborhood streets are not bus routes, they're not gonna have any, they don't care. It's not their issue. So I think truthfully, what Christina and Mike have done, identifying trouble spots, is probably the only thing that we really need to focus on is trouble spots. Because let's face it, the roads clear quickly around here because we don't have long, cold spurts. If we have an isolated storm, if there are trouble spots that are shady and won't melt and very hilly, they're a problem. And I think that we only need to address those. I don't think we need to address every road in Marvin. And if there is a major storm event, it affects everybody. These roads won't get paved either.
And you're just talking about,
Plowed either. You know what I'm
you're talking
saying?
about Marvin owned roads.
Yes,
Yeah.
just Marvin on roads.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about plowing at this point because
You're talking about pre-brining.
yes.
Yeah. And all that is subcontracting to a company that comes out and say, okay, we want you to hit X one. These roads that are part of Marvin just from but it's, again, I don't think there are many in Marvin just because to your point about the bus routes, that's what they're concerned about. And they're in rural areas, not so much. But I will tell you this, my road on Firethorn, just going up to the top of the hill, sometimes people can't get up that hill if they don't have the right vehicle. So,
Well, most there were a couple in Firethorn, a couple of identified spots. Hair to Joke, and I don't have my list here. Beechwood, some Providence Estates, and I think that's the majority of the areas. I did ask Mike Walden to get a couple of quotes for me, and he basically got a $500 mobilization fee. So each time we would call them out, they'd charge $500 from the beginning, $125 an hour, and then whatever the cost of the brine that they pushed out would just be charged per gallon.
So you thinking ballpark $1,500, $2,000 per event?
Per event, yeah.
So then we would probably want to budget for 3 events a year average, and then if we have surplus, we can push it to the next year, because, you know, it's an average, so you may get 6 events one year and none another. Is that doable, or is that?
No, we can't, we wouldn't be able to carry over the funds because it's in the operating budget. We would just have to do a budget amendment if we needed to.
Okay.
So what we'll do, if y'all are inclined to do this, is I'll put together a policy and a roadmap to show you the areas, and we'll get it back.
Not in November.
I mean, it's not a huge significant amount of money to have it set aside in case we have, and then I don't think that with our climate, we don't have it that much.
But in the end, I think we're
Once in a
being
while.
responsible by identifying the trouble spots.
Yeah.
We've identified there are roads, but for the most part, the people know that, you know, if they're shutting down the buses, that probably means maybe want to stay home. And actually, there's usually delays in work too, for even you guys coming to work.
It's
so.
not so much people getting in and out, it's emergency
Right.
emergency vehicles getting in and out. If they need an ambulance or a fire truck or a police officer, they've got to be able to maneuver those roads, so.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and then the last thing is y'all had requested me to reach out to Bishop, Representative Bishop, to schedule a meeting. I've reached out to him several times, and unfortunately, he's tied up over the next several weeks. They have suggested to discuss the infrastructure bill with his legislative aide. I don't know if y'all are inclined to do that, or if y'all want to designate a couple of people to go and start that process, or if you just want to wait until he's available.
And this is in regards to,
The infrastructure bill that's being proposed at the federal level, from my understanding.
and how it can be used.
Yes.
So they have information on that already on how it can be
Oh,
allocated?
I don't know. I have no clue.
No, I don't want to meet with sorry, but I don't want to meet with an aide. Like, I mean, this is a municipality in a district that he represents, like,
And all we want to
Let's
know
save
is,
some time.
yeah, all we want to know is
I make time for my
what these funds
constituents.
can be used for, and there's multiple, we talk about it in WUMA, it's like, they haven't decided if they're gonna take it yet, because they don't know what's in it, and we're moving forward, right, with it, because we approved it.
two totally separate things.
So-
One's the infrastructure deal, one's the American Rescue Fund
Yeah,
plan,
the
whatever.
infrastructure
Two
bill.
totally separate
Okay.
things.
Hasn't passed yet.
And
We're just trying to get ahead of what could potentially be in it, because they're talking about it every day.
Yeah.
I agree with Kim. I don't want to talk to some staff person that's gonna
Okay.
go. I got Marvin on the line, down to Monty.
Yep.
I'll reach back out to him.
I mean, we do have some time, this thing hasn't been decided
We
yet.
do, but again, it's not like I'm calling him up being like, hey, can I have a meeting? This is a municipality in a district that he represents. Come on.
Do y'all want to designate 2 of you to go, or do y'all all want to go?
You might want to wait till next week to make that decision.
Okay. We'll bring it back up. That's all I have.
Just
Okay,
saying.
thank you. Next up, we have planners report, discussion of Ray Road cell phone tower.
All right, so just to give you guys an update on the tower proposal from the county. My last conversation with the county is that the applicant has requested a 30-day delay before it goes to the county planning board, so it will be on the county's planning board agenda for December, which then it will be reviewed by them. Then at that time, or prior to this, at our next meeting, I plan to have a resolution for you guys to adopt. The county said basically with that resolution we can include that it will be included in the planning board packet, an application for the planning board to review for the applicant, and we will include the public comment that we received at the last meeting, the public comment that we will probably receive at the next meeting, as well as the resolution. And I've actually got with Tanya from Tullamore, and I'm getting her petition, and I'm going to have that kind of included because it was mentioned during the public comments and so on. So have that included.
I have a copy.
Okay, and yeah, she sent it to me. But include that in everything that we send to the county to include in the application packet. There's still some things that after reviewing the application itself and all the stuff in there, in conjunction with our ordinance and even stuff with the county ordinance, there's still some things that are unclear, and I'm reaching out to. I'll be reaching out to the county today, just get some answers on that, just so I can have some answers if anybody asks me on why has this been addressed. And one of them is that there's a PEQ stream buffer that is running on the property itself, and it would be, the tower would be placed within that buffer. From my knowledge,
That does not seem like that would be safe.
correct, and from the way that most of those DEQ buffers read, no permanent structure can be installed there, and unless some type of cell tower has a different regulation at the I don't know, but I would think that would be something that needs to be. I'm hoping the county is aware of it, but at the same
You
time,
can't put a house there,
Yeah.
or a porch, or a patio, so how in the world would a 100 and whatever, 75-foot metal tower be stuck in a stream buffer?
so yep,
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
Okay.
So
But my question to further that, how did they not already identify that?
Yeah.
I mean, if they do this stuff for a living, which I think they do, that they don't go, hey, let's put one right there. Well, the first thing question is, are we in a buffer zone? Oh, don't worry about that.
well,
You see, I mean, they should identify
And
that before we have to. And my second point, and I'll let you finish, is through this whole process, do you feel like we're behind in timing, we're okay with timing, or we're ahead in timing?
we're good with timing. If
Not behind.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're not behind,
Okay.
and we're way ahead, especially with them now moving the applicant having the 30-day. If it was something where it was going to be on the November schedule, that would have been something that either once again the previous meeting / today would have been presented to you guys to get direction, so I can get all that information to the county before that planning board meeting. But since that got pushed back, we're good on time. The second, to answer you about how they not looked at that, I don't know. I'm going based off of actually what I found, and I had a conversation with Tanya on Tuesday of the original conditional zoning application, like site plan of the property. Because remember, this is an application to amend that original conditional zoning proposal, and it has a 200, like I said, foot DEQ buffer on the plat, but there is no developmental standards there, and sometimes I have seen this happen. It gets left on a plat, but if there's no direction or notes, and sometimes it's maybe, was that actually meant to be there or not? And then if it has no development in notes, you just go based off the standards. We have a similar issue with actually the Interlude subdivision, that 4-lot right here off of Waxhaw Marvin Road, because there was a 200-foot random buffer, no notes about it, and I had to talk to Mike about it because it didn't make any sense because we didn't have anything in our ordinance or in the development, the plat itself didn't have that. So, but we're enforcing what the general kind of standard is for when it comes to structures and stuff in those buffers.
It sounds to me like they're willing to go. I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission.
Well,
That pretty resounding to me because they know it's there.
Who knows about this DEQ buffer?
I would assume the county does, but that's why I'm gonna call the county today.
Okay.
I know that Wayne Dethridge, that lives in Amber Meadows, has contacted someone from the county and made them aware of it.
Okay.
Okay, it's gonna be a lot better coming from us, so.
Yeah, that's, like I said, I've developed about 5 to 6 questions that I gotta touch base with Bjorn today.
So in regards to that, I received a phone call from an AT&T representative that got my name through the Chamber of Commerce. She wanted to set up a meeting. I suggested initially that maybe Kim and I go, and then I thought, Kim and I discussed this, said, well, what do they want to talk about? And I had no idea if it was to put a story in the Heritage District or what it was, but it was clearly about the cell phone issue. And she mentioned there's a separate company that actually does the installation, because we had a nice chat, and I asked specific questions about how it was received at the public hearing, and I think the comment to me was it was very professional, which means that they didn't necessarily get a lot of support with that. And I said, I did mention to her, I said, look, for us it was clear in the meetings of the people that were coming that, that they weren't necessarily in favor of it. Have they thought of other locations? And those were questions for her. So instead of us having a meeting or even sitting down and talking about anything, what I did is say, what I'd like you to do is to have this group, this second group, come in and talk before all of council. And maybe we have, some residents there that we can have a forum, whether we put it on the agenda and have the residents have questions for us to help us with that, because we're learning as we go too. But my biggest thing is, have they looked at other locations and, that aren't part of this? And unfortunately, at the end, near the end of the conversation, she reminded me it wasn't our decision. And I said, I recognize that, but we still, it's a county decision, ultimately. Is what she was implying, and I said I understand that. However, it would be better if you had the support of the local municipality. So, just for those listening in, we are bringing this up to. We put it on the agenda for WUMA to see how they are handling this, and if we do come to a resolution, getting their support on this. So, county, who apparently are making the decision, understand that these things have to be thought out a little bit more in depth when it comes to, there has to be 2 or 3 other options. We know there's a problem with drop calls and all the service and stuff. So yeah, something may have to be done, but does it have to be done where it's located and where are give us 3 other options that you considered in this process. There has to be at least 3 other options, and why they said yes to this and not to the other ones.
So the two things there is, one, the county has put together a map of all that he's asked, the county planning department has basically asked all municipalities to kind of chime in and say, where they know of or have approved any type of cellular tower, and mapping it so then they have a map of an area. And I don't know if that's for the county's benefit in general, if that's something that's
And have we responded to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got it. I mean, the only one I know of is the one that near us is the one right down Newtown Road. Is the only one I'm aware of that's kind of within our jurisdiction. Behind, right after you go past the roundabout on the left, isn't there one?
There's one behind you.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Andy, just to your point, it's amazing what you can see when you're on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I was going down Newtown Road just the other day, and my head flipped to the left as I was heading right out of the roundabout, and you see where that birch, commercial area is.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, with all the years I've lived here, I don't know why I didn't see that huge cell tower right behind birch. And I don't, footage-wise, I don't know, is that 160 feet?
Manufacturing, right here.
Manufacturing.
I mean, take a look at it. And I was thinking to myself, how tall is that? Is that 160 feet? And I'm saying, I thought then the second thing I said to myself is, I know some of the comments from residents have been, oh my goodness, thank goodness, we need cell tower reception. And I thought, we have to get educated. I thought, I didn't know how many cell towers is it per carrier. Like you have a Sprint cell tower, and then you have an AT&T cell tower. I mean, I don't know that much about cell towers. And then the other cell tower I noticed was I'm going up Ardrikell, and I'm going right past the high school, and you look at the huge one that's behind Ardrikell. And you never notice it, but all of a sudden, what they do is they put Christmas tree branches on it to make it look like it blends in with the landscape. I guess my question is just about this cell tower with AT&T. Just asking from an education standpoint, is it per carrier?
No. AT&T happened to call me, and it's for a variety of different carriers. It's just a location, and a separate company comes in and builds it. So it's that company's responsibility, which is where I went to right away, saying if you're going to suggest where you're going to put this and build it and what it looks like, it's not going to be to AT&T that we're asking the question. It's going to be to the separate company that they subcontract with, but all cellular services will utilize that tower.
Yeah, just to simple answer is that the one that's being proposed here off of Ray Road is that height to promote co-location of different telecommunication providers. It basically the height and the size that allows it for additional type of those providers to install their data technology on it and provide service. The one
How
that's
tall is the one on Newtown?
That's a good question. That's one of those. That's one thing that's in my packet that I'm sending. That I'm gonna have a conversation with the county because I don't know off the top of my head, and I don't have.
And just so you know, part of the
idea.
public process, public information process, they do what's called a balloon test, is what she told me, and they'll take a balloon and send it up 170 feet, so everyone can clearly see what that's going to look like, and if you can, how high it's going to be, and then you can just got to imagine what that pole is going to be and how that's going to affect the landscape. So they will, at some point, wherever they locate it, there will be a balloon test that's done.
There in their application. There's pretty much that from the county. Like it kind of has that.
The question I had is, and this probably is the case, that's in Union County, that where Birch is,
Yep.
and where that cell tower, that's Union County property too, right?
Yes, sir.
There's also one behind the high school, if you're not aware, Marvin Ridge High School.
On the high school property, has to be on
It's
the.
on county property, it's behind the high school. If you drive up Waxhaw Marvin Ridge, you can
Yeah,
see
it's
it.
on that property behind.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just-
Yeah, that
So-
one was put in fairly recently, probably 6-7 years ago, I think.
Is that private? That's private property, isn't it?
I don't know if it's county or private, but
I thought
there's
that
a
was for
road that
sale at
goes
one
to
point.
it.
I think it was
I'll
for
have
sale.
That might be.
Joe, in your tenure, do you remember of what Andy's bringing up? Do you remember pushback on that? Or
I don't know when that was installed, and I don't recall that ever being even brought to our attention.
It
But
may be
in
on
my
county property. It may be on the county's property, and that may have been just done with no.
Well,
that-
yeah,
Because
so
the Marvin High School is not part of Marvin either, so you got very few, and that whole area is a big donut area.
Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
people are across the street that would be affected.
Yeah, so it's another county. Marvin does not have any within our municipal limits that I'm aware of.
Any what?
Cell towers.
Yeah, we don't.
So
Yeah, we don't.
What about ordinance?
So then
Let's talk about that.
that's the second thing is that the consistency between our ordinance and the counties. It's not. That's what's created a lot of like ruffles here. Is that our ordinance in no way, if this property was owned or in our jurisdiction is owned, whatever that allowed it, but mainly in our jurisdiction, it would not be allowed there, just based off of how our zoning regulations read, and specifically for cell towers, but specifically for any type of structure near near stream and stream or waterways. I think the way it reads, and as well as like the surrounding residential uses. So that's something else I'm going to bring to the county's attention. I mean, that in a nutshell doesn't really have much bearing, but they can at least put that in the application that it's not consistent from our end. Because getting back to, when you guys make legislative decisions, you have to state that it's consistent with our land use plan and the surrounding and all that stuff. Well, they got to do the same thing. And even though it's not Village of Marvin property, it is surrounding it's Marvin uses and zoning, and it's not necessarily consistent with that. I don't know if that's legal, how much that will stand, but it's true.
So let me ask you this. When I mentioned that the AT&T representative said that it was ultimately not our decision, you kind of took pause, and I just saw some reaction. So you want to share with us what authority we have and what we can do to our abilities, and then we can...
Well, the reason I paused is because I was like confused. City Switch was contracted or hired by AT&T to find a location to put the tower. They built the tower and so on. Because this tower will be an AT&T primary tower, and then other.
They lease out the other
space.
Yeah.
So when she said it wasn't my decision, I don't know what she means by that. That's all I made that face, because it was like, you found this property and
No, our decision.
Oh,
She
She
said
said it wasn't Marvin's
ultimately
decision.
it's not your decision.
Yeah,
because
and
you're
it's-
not voting
Meaning
on
Marvin's
it. And I
decision.
said I understand that.
and that's what's tough. I mean, and that's why we're going to do a resolution. That's why we're going to include the public comment stuff from the last meeting and the next. I suppose we'll have some for the next meeting.
So I want to make sure we're doing all we can
Yeah.
to make our voice clear, based on the community, based on what our current land use plan is and stuff. I'd go so far as not even say hell no, but saying no for that. But show me other areas that you even considered to see if how that affects it and stuff. Because
Yeah, that's the greatest question I have for them, for the applicant itself, I mean, I asked it to the county and the county didn't really have an answer for me, so.
So when's the public hearing now, in December? Or is that the planning, just the
The planning board meeting is scheduled for December. The public hearing, if
Now
it,
January?
I'll have to get clarification, but if everything moves back on the original timeline that I gave last time, then it would be January.
Can you get clarification on that and send that out to?
Because we're gonna
everyone?
push out
Okay.
stuff.
Because now, so if the planning board meeting got moved, residents still need to sign up to speak for that, but in December now.
Mhm.
Okay. So planning board will take comments in December.
And planning
And
board will make a recommendation. Once again, it's gonna be voted on by the commissioners one way or another, but planning board can
Right.
make a recommendation
Right.
to not approve it.
Right. And then it'll go to the public hearing. And then at the public hearing, is the applicant, the applicant would be there to answer questions, I guess, from the commissioners, not the public.
No, I mean, it just depends on how they wanna do it.
How the commissioners want to handle it.
Yeah, because when I do public hearings, as staff, will try to answer all the questions, as much questions. If I can then answer a question from the public, then I will direct it to the, but like the public, basically I do the public, if the public has any questions, then
I'm just wondering when we can get, or if we can have, I guess, another meeting with the applicant. And I don't know.
well, I would say potentially during the public comment period for planning board, if they've got 3 minutes, if it's us or whoever, however we want to do it, if it's, residents of Marvin, is to go ahead, instead of, spending, everybody's taking 3 minutes to say they're against it, somebody going up there and asking those questions, they can't respond to them during the public comment period, but then potentially you might get that, maybe one of the planning board members will ask the questions, or maybe the applicant will answer those questions during the review during the discussion with planning board, so.
Or encourage residents to reach out to staff and have their questions, or for council, because we have council. I mean, we have the ability to do that in that interaction, or even planning boards. Reach out to your planning board people and say, ask them about this, ask them about that, because if you get everybody involved, then there's too many questions, but there's a way to kind of condense it down to the key questions. What are the most important things?
Well,
and make sure we're asking.
That's where, the surrounding communities in like Tullamore and Amber Meadows, they did a good job of kind of during our meeting, and if they do something similar during the county meetings, and even, like I said, have an additional person asking questions, or if we have, either I can also potentially put in the packet that I send to them after we adopt the resolution some of those questions. I don't know if it's going to do anything, but I do know if you ask that in public comment, if I was an applicant, I would probably address those during my presentation. But I would still think then would also then get addressed again during the public hearing.
So, okay, if the planning board meeting for the county got moved to December, do we know when in December they have their meetings?
Yeah, it's the first Tuesday.
So it's our meeting night.
Mm-mm.
Well,
We don't have a meeting.
sorry, ours is the second, sorry.
First Tuesday.
So we'll only have like one additional meeting between now and then. I'm just trying to think of how we can represent, the village as a whole, but then also help, the residents try to figure out their best approach. Because as much as I like hearing, what people's stance on it is at the beginning, I don't think 14 people going up there saying they're against it is going to be the best use of time. I think asking questions and saying these are questions that we really need to get answered, and having those list of questions, and if it takes 3 people to go through this questions,
and then one general statement too,
Yeah.
a combination of okay, here's why, because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Why we don't want it here.
Say you're from this community, you're from this neighborhood, you've been appointed or directed
all right,
to
so
represent.
we have some time, but
Yeah.
we're not going to have 2 meetings time. We'll have 1 meeting time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to talk.
No, sorry, Tanya.
Just had a question.
Okay, so Tanya, you can call me later and ask me. I'll tell you.
It's for you though, it's for Hunter, but I'll call Hunter.
Okay. Okay. So we'll be able to really kind of get everything organized.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is my recommendation to adopt a resolution during the November meeting, and we can have that, and staff can have that drafted.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I have a few more things though. Christina forgot to add them.
Okay.
What would be? I'll be quick.
That's all right.
Belgo Trail update, spoke to the developer a week ago. They're in agreement. He had some questions for me, as in that I didn't have the answers for at that time, so I've got to follow back up with him. I waited to follow back up with him because I was waiting to hear. There was a different situation out there that I was waiting to hear from a different person, so then I can have this full conversation. So I'll be calling him today. But once again, the discussion I had with him is they're not putting in the trail, and or the agreement can treat. The agreement is to not put in the trail, have the easement, and then we'll figure out the fee and loop, the cost.
Okay. So you're still working on that?
Yes, but I would say it's like 95% done. I put a note on Austin's thing already that it could probably be taken off after the November meeting, hopefully. Innisbrook, I know that you two, the Innisbrook connector, I know that you two were at the meetings, but I wanted to update everybody else, is that's kind of on hold right now. The property owner, the two property owners, both are, want to see how the trail, want to see the preserve trail get installed and see how it's, utilized and so on. Just they have certain concerns of just, not in my backyard and people kind of, being right there. So that's kind of been put on hold. The mayor and Kim and I met with them 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that we just kind of, that's where we're at.
Okay. So the only thing the bogey with that I didn't mention in that meeting with everyone is like, okay, so that trail's going in Tullamore, correct?
And preserve, yes.
Right, it's going in preserve. However, that access point, that easement ability was kind of put to the forefront of that, and there was a budget saying, hey, if you guys agree with this is going to affect your term homes and it's really on one property line, then now's the time to do it. I didn't mention this, like, and I didn't want to make it sound like I'm holding a gun to his head saying, like, if you don't do this now, we don't know. But the true answer is that budget was there because we're putting in the trail, and we identified an area that we could hopefully get done relatively quickly, so we said, okay, we would fund that, but there may be other things that come up that doesn't allow that to be funded right away, and it may take a couple years. We don't know, right? Because
so part of the reason,
I'm asking,
part of the reason that that specific location was selected because there was an existing sewer easement, or either stormwater sewer, or either way, that we were then going to have an easement as well, same kind of parameters, and then we were going to pay for screening, for the path and the screening and buffering part of that.
Right.
So when you're talking about budget, I don't know 100% because one of the other options that I'm going to look at, and that was kind of mentioned, is maybe look at other properties along and see if there's any one that makes sense that we would want to maybe just go ask for an easement. I mean, it can't hurt to ask, but at the same time, like that was the shortest distance, and then well as where
it was on a public road. It wasn't in between homes and stuff, because that's the other issue.
So I mean, because what you're going to get into if you go a couple houses down or something, it's going to be like basically the same thing as like a cart path that fire. I mean, that's essentially what it is. You'll have adequate screening and buffering, but it's like you'll have.
I think because the one owner, and I'm not speaking for him, but I think once they recognize and knowing the people who lived there before is the majority of the time of the year you won't even see the path inside there. You'll just see an access point to the path. It's that well screened you can't even see the homes behind there. But come winter, they're going to learn real quick what they can see and what they can't see, and that is what it is when they built the preserve. So but they may change because they may have situations in the accessibility, because you can only walk so far in Innisbrook, and having an access to a trail like that, which we tried to encourage them to look at the trails that we're doing, and I think we're doing a really nice job with those. So hopefully that comes around.
All right, two more quick things. Roundabout lighting should potentially either be on the November meeting or December meeting. If you guys have to sign for an encroachment agreement, so basically we put up the lights. Union Power, they reached out to Mr. Fincher, which I let Tim know that they were going to be reaching out because they got to secure an easement there because one of the lights are being proposed on his property. Once that happens, I think they sent final revisions back to DOT, waiting to hear back, but it should be should be good. Once we get the okay from DOT, which should be any time now, we'll get the encroachment agreements and move forward with
You
those.
said on November or December?
Tentatively. I mean, because the other thing I think that might have to be decided on is if the cost, because if you recall, if there's any type of, if it has to be a breakaway structure, those poles cost a little bit more. But I think it was the most that was going to be was I think 3 or 4 of those of the original, is it 9, 12 pole lights? Because the other ones are just going to be the regular wood type poles for now. So I'll have that moving forward, but I stay on top of I stay in contact with my the guy from
We
Union Power.
picked what it's gonna look like, right? That's already been done. The post, the lights. We have.
It's a wooden stick with an arm that comes out. We don't get a choice.
Street light.
It's a street light. It's not a pretty decorative one.
Down in front of Sedgefield.
So no, we have not.
Yeah.
Or will we be allowed to?
Well,
Unless we own it.
well, no, I think in the long run, especially if the Heritage District gets paid out, we can replace those to be more aesthetically pleasing. Because a lot of where they're going is already on one, our property, and 2, we would have those encroachment agreements already secured for those lights, and just have to work with we'll have to kind of have to go through the kind of a similar process that we are right now, but at least everything will be approved. So basically, the only thing we got to do is changing the structure itself and making sure it's compliant with DOT, and I don't think it should be any issue. So we'll see, but I'll have once again continue giving you guys updates on that. The last thing I have is tree ordinance revisions. Been working with the county urban forester. This was one thing that I think was on the action item list of one tree planting, tree removal, and I told Keith from the county, I was like, dude, I don't know anything about tree the whole tree preservation stuff. So I was like, here's our ordinance. You're the expert. Let me know what you recommend fixing, and I will then start going through the process. And so he's got me a first set of revisions I need to review. I guess my question for you guys is, do we want, and saying Keith asked me how he wants to do it, is do we want to potentially just look at it all at once and adopt the revisions all at once, or maybe piecemeal it?
I'd rather look at it one time and be done with it.
Okay. And that's how I was thinking, because like I said, he's the expert, it's his recommendations. We can still make additional changes or additional things to fit Marvin, for example, the tree planting list. There's certain things like that maybe in his recommendation for the tree planting list, if there's something on there that we don't want to include on there, then we can take it off. Okay. And the way he recommended that is we just honestly make that an administrative thing anyway, so we can do
I don't
it.
see any issues popping up with that, but
So.
Yeah, just one time, get it done, and then look at it one time and be done with it, because I don't think it's going to be that drastic of a change, and he's the expert.
So that will be something that's coming down the pipeline in the next couple months as well. Is there any questions on anything? All right, that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Hunter? All right, moving on to agenda items, review of action items.
Okay. Okay, so Jamie and Joe and myself will work on a flyer for Marvin Day. Christina and Derek are working on that sponsorship letter. Joe and Jamie will work on targeting larger sponsors for Marvin Day. Christina will hire a part-time event person. We have tabled the neighborhood camera discussion, the surveillance plan, until the January work session. You've tabled, you'll report back on park lights at the January work session. Derek will work on getting roundabout quotes and looking into the dog park. That's all I had.
Okay.
Do you have anything, Christina?
else want to add to that? Okay, next up, review.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Review of ongoing action items list.
I was like, no, that's my favorite part. Okay. You can take off
Oh, I know.
the loans for road assessments.
Yep.
You can take off the no turnaround signs.
Where's
You can take off the conference table size. And Christina, you went and talked to other municipalities about Village Hall AV, right?
Doing that today.
Oh, you're doing that today? All right. So leave that one on. There was another one I just saw. I was like, ooh. Where are we with this oak tree quote for the heritage oaks at Marvin Eager Park? Where are we with that?
Is that the tree feeding thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Eric on that.
He's never here for these, so.
I think he's in the other room right there.
Yeah, he's in his office.
He's right there. You want to get it?
I'll go grab it.
Yeah.
Did we lose the officer who came
Yeah.
in?
Yeah, he can't.
We knew he was going to be on the hot seat.
He's the one that wanted to talk about it.
One thing I have for this, the one that's been on hold forever for me for communications for board members, with my new software being set up, and should be by March, there'll be a whole new interface for boards online, so that'll completely take care of that.
The pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
They'll have pictures and bios and everything.
Cool, alright.
The tree feeding, he's got 2 of them for each.
Quotes?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there was another one for you, Christina, but I was like, ooh. Oh, did you execute the contract with Blue Ridge Trailworks?
No, we're still working on that.
Okay, that's it.
Any other comments? All right, next up we have council comments. Bob?
No, just, thank you for the good work that the staff does. You guys are on top of it, so thank you for keeping us all straight. A lot of work.
Okay. Jamie?
We have, I know we're coming that time of year where a lot of the neighborhoods are having their HOA meetings, their annual HOA meetings. I think it'd be a great time, an idea for, this is just me, I'm throwing it out there, to be another avenue, another approach to reach out to folks. So if we could maybe reach out to the HOAs to see if we can be, one or two of us can come part of their meeting so they can ask us questions there. And that's another way that we can address some of the concerns that are out there. I will work my schedule to be open to attend whatever and as many as I possibly can, but
Unfortunately, a lot of them conflict with some of our meetings. When
I know, but at least throw it out there.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another step and another important way to kind of clear all the misrepresentations that are out there. So,
Okay.
That's it.
Andy?
Good.
Kim?
I'm good. I never want to say anything.
Okay, and I also want to thank staff again for your hard work, and thanks to people at Battle Grove for having us over, Andy and Derek and I, and setting that up and kind of clearing some things up for them. We're going to do our best to hopefully we're win-win-win for everybody. This weekend, like I said, the high school band I keep pumping because we went to Western Carolina University, which is an amazing college for a band. They filled up the arena and performed for us, but there was also competition, of which Marvin won got into the finals, and then we won like first place at Color Guard again. They're amazing, and so is our. We finally have our closer. So this weekend. Friday. It is a huge game. It's almost like a playoff game because we're playing Weddington. Same record right now, and they will be performing again for their last time, other than the competition that's this weekend. So it was a long day. Last week it was a 22-hour day for me. So, but a lot of fun to be with the kids and stuff. So, and today is one of my favorite days. I'll just have to announce that I am going from here in about an hour and a half and doing a Zoom call with the third graders of Marvin Ridge. And I'm going to have to be prepared for, I won't have my, teleprompter, so I'm going to have to, I hope I speak well.
You're in deep trouble there, Joe.
There's a lot of questions that come from these third graders that, thank Lori Sanders, the teacher who put this together, and it's going to have all the different classes of third grade will be on a Zoom call today, so I don't know if that's public or not, but I thank them for doing that because it's a great opportunity to get the kids understanding about all the different branches of government, including how important local is. And then with that said, I encourage all to go vote next Tuesday, get to the polls, or early vote if you can. if you're gonna be out of town. Or you have till when? Saturday?
Saturday at
It's
3
early
p.m.
vote,
Saturday at 3 p.m.
At the Monroe Library, with Jamie, I think you did, right?
I'm heading that way as soon as we leave.
Okay, and, so thank you all for all of that, and, we'll look forward to, next week when it's election time, so. With that, I need a motion to move into closed session.
Pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A1 for review and approval of closed session minutes from the 8/26/21 meeting and the 10/12/21 council meetings.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you all for our Zoom call, they're no longer there, and,
Bob will call
we'll
you.
call you, Bob.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to move into open session.
All's in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make the motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve closed session minutes from the 8/26/21 and the 10/12/21 council meetings.
Further discussion, all's in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
At
Discussion.
11:37.
All's in favor?
Aye. All right.
Let's hold you up, Jamie. Jamie's got one